I'm obsessed with making nutrient-dense lunches for my kids. So today I want to make milled wheat chocolate chip muffins for the kids. I was going to make banana muffins, but those bananas were not something that we wanted to look at. So I just milled all the grains outside on our archaic grain miller. Definitely not like the fancy countertop one. This one, we don't even know where it came from. But I did a lot. I filled my crock, and this will sit on the counter and it's good to go. What I wanted to do today is, yes, I'm going to make the muffins. I'm going to show you how I make the muffins. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I make them nutrient dense. They will be nutrient dense from these milled grains, but I'm going to show you what else I do. And then I'm also going to talk about why. Like, why do I care? Why milled grains? Why am I obsessed with making nutrient dense food for my kids all the time? And what difference does it make in their lives? So I might ramble. I might get off on tangents. And you're welcome to stay if you're really into that, because that's kind of just how I roll. All right, well, let's get started. So this recipe calls for 2¼ cups of milled grains. If you've looked at any of my other recipes that I posted in my shorts, you'll see that I am not a stickler for precision. I'm not a level the thing and the whatever. I really grew up on like a few channels on food TV. Is that what it was called? Anyway, I don't have cable anymore. And it was kind of all about like the urban chef. Do you guys remember the urban chef or Chef Michael Smith? And just like knowing roughly how things worked. Okay, so that's 2¼ cups. The other thing that I love is I'm always just trying to use one bowl. Now, I don't know if we can do that today. Maybe this is going to be a 2-bowl scenario, but I feel like we've been lied to about always needing to make a ton of dishes. And I also don't use equipment. I hate it. Unless I like really have to like do butter and brown sugar. I'm not doing it. All right, so it calls for a teaspoon of salt. I actually only have the grinder. And so I'm going to say when. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of baking soda. I don't even use measuring spoons. I legit feel like people in the culinary world love to overcomplicate things. And maybe there's a reason. Listen, I am not Chef Michael Smith. I'm Chef Sheila Howell. Let's just minus the chef part. This is a really good recipe. It says mix the dry, add the wet. Thank you very much. That's what I'm going to do. All right. And then we're going to do 1 egg. Now, I'm going to rinse this. It came from the duck. So I'm using a duck egg. I washed it because I actually don't usually wash my eggs, but if they do look dirty when I crack them, I do not want to get them in there. But I'm using a duck egg because duck eggs actually have a ton of nutrients in them. Now, keep in mind, any egg does, it creates a whole chick or a duckling. Like, that's just like amazing. So it's going to contain everything you need. But the reason that I really like duck eggs is because it has different nutrients. It's also super buttery and just incredibly amazing in baking. But if you think about it, like if you're always eating, chicken eggs and beef and maybe a little pork and chicken, then you're just getting a certain set of nutrients. Notice how I didn't mention vegetables. Like you get your nutrients from your animal products. And so if you're not switching things up and adding different kinds of meat or different cuts of meat or different animals and seafood and things like that, then you're not getting the whole array of nutrients. Now, I'm not saying you actually do need to eat the rainbow of animal products, but let's just put a duck egg in our baking and stop talking about it. Calls for, I think, is a half a cup of oil. Now, here is the kicker. Do not use seed oils. Just don't do it. Seed oils are like made for engines, or that's their original thing. They're completely unnatural, and you're trying to add nutrients. So you can use whatever you want, and I'll tell you I've used them all, but let's just start with the beginning. Okay, you're not going to use olive oil. I'm really sorry for people that just love olive oil, but it's actually most often cut seed oils, and there's like a whole like mob thing on this. It's in another YouTube video, not mine. You can go and look it up. So plus, if it's like real olive oil, of course, you're not going to put a half a cup in these muffins that you're going to bake at a high heat in the oven. That's ridiculous. So what you want to use is lard, butter, or tallow, or a combination. I will tell you, having done all three, tallow can sometimes taste like beef fat. Sometimes. And your kids will be like, Mom, what did you put in these? So I'm going to recommend lard or butter. And today I'm doing butter. The reason that I'm really obsessed with adding nutrients to my kids' food is because I don't think that people know this. Oh my God, it's not even I don't think that people really know this, but like the food you feed your kids impacts how they grow. They use that food to grow their body. So it's how their jaw's gonna grow. Their bones are gonna grow. Their teeth are gonna grow. Like, it's not just like, oh, you know, a nice thing. It's really important. And I'm going to say something else. As a parent, I think that it is your responsibility to make sure that your kids get nutrients. Now, I don't want to make that sound like a shame thing, because I kind of did make it sound like a shame thing, but it's also a really great opportunity to understand that it is your job. It's your job to get nutrients in your kid's diet. You don't have to make milled wheat muffins. I don't even care. But just having that mindset of like, okay, what I feed my kid affects how my kid grows. So like if you're feeding your kids egg for breakfast, it's gonna impact how they grow, you know? Whereas if your kids are having toast and butter for breakfast, that's gonna affect how they grow. Like you want your kids to have fewer injuries if they get into sports, if you want them to grow tall, if you want them to develop muscle, then they have to eat the building blocks in order to make that happen. So this is why I've really kind of fixated on these lunches and like making these nutrient dense lunches, because I just don't want to look at my kids and be like, oh my God, they didn't get enough nutrients and that's why this thing happened. And there's some obvious things that once you kind of understand how the nutrients are like the building blocks for your kids' bodies, that like if a major injury happens, chances are, if it wasn't something catastrophic, you're gonna know it's because your kid didn't get enough nutrients. But there's something good about this. But let's add the next ingredient. It says buttermilk, but I'm gonna put in cream. Okay, so the really big thing about this nutrients, it doesn't have to be complicated. So like what you need to know is that it's about adding things in and not always about taking things away. So that's where I feel like it's a little bit of a gift that you don't have to all of a sudden cancel your life, freak out, start the car. You can just be like, okay, well today we're gonna take out seed oils and we're gonna use animal fats for our cooking. Because guess what? Animal fats are super loaded in nutrients. They have tons of vitamins A, D, E, and K. You need those. You need those for your eyes and your tissue and your body and your happiness and your hormones. Okay, this is looking really good. If you take this recipe, for example, it still has sugar in it and it has chocolate chips. But what I'm doing is I'm using milled wheat, animal fats, and a duck egg or a chicken egg, like who cares? And the point is that I'm adding nutrients. If this was white flour, guys, white flour doesn't have any nutrients. And if you're using seed oils, that doesn't have any nutrients. So then you're sort of at this like negative. Chocolate chips we already know are bad. So then the only thing that's good in it is like milk and eggs. What I try and do is find balance. Like if I'm gonna be using something with white flour, I'm gonna make something that's either a treat, a total treat, and it's not necessarily for school lunch, it might be like a dessert after dinner, or I'm like making a meat bun. Meat bun video, wow. Because meat is full of nutrients. So it's sort of like about a bit of a balance. But like if you're just adding white flour, chocolate chips, seed oil, sending it in your kids' lunches, to me that's just like a total like blood sugar imbalance, and it's really, really not fair to your kids in the middle of the day when they're at school. If I'm gonna screw up my kids' blood sugar, I want it to be in my home under my supervision, and preferably with ice cream. I did say this was gonna be a rambly video. I hope that makes sense. So if I'm doing like absolute fluff dessert, I'm not sending it at school. If I'm trying to make it somewhat nutrient dense and put nutrients in there, then it's gonna go to school. It's gonna go to school because I want them to have a good day. I just wanna eat it. I got Chip-Its. Guys, I used to be this orthodox, organic, everything person. And I do actually think it's important because chemicals are garbage and we just like can't escape chemicals these days. But if you've ever had these Chip-Its, they taste so good. And sometimes milled wheat muffins, oh god guys, can taste like if you don't have the chocolate chips, like if you were just gonna use carob chips, I would, they might not taste the best. Oh my god, you guys, I'm just eating that. Now I was melting butter and I kind of browned it a little bit. Just gonna take the old silicone and use that with butter to just do my liners. Now, I read in this book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. So there was this rat study and they fed the rats, they put them in 3 different groups, and there was the milled wheat group, freshly milled grains. And then there was the white flour group, where the germ, the husk, whatever you want to call it, had been removed. And then there was the group where it was actually the germ had been removed and then added back, which is what you usually buy when you get whole wheat flour from the grocery store. Okay, so understand the difference. milled wheat, white flour, and then whole wheat, which is the germ removed, and then added back. And you know, usually you'd see that it'd be like 30% whole wheat or something. And this is strictly what they fed these rats, mice, whatever the study was. Obviously, I don't remember. I will reference it. It's 100 years old, or like 80. And how the mice grew. I can tell you, which group do you think was the healthiest? Yeah, it was the ones that had the milled wheat. Because when you have something that's sort of like giving life, like an egg, it has everything in it. Now, this isn't always true because some seeds are bad for you. But in the case with wheat, if you have milled wheat, a mouse grew properly. In the case of the other two, it was bad. Like, I'm talking like there was deformities, there was stuff going on there. And I think like, okay, so once you kind of have this knowledge, then you can kind of apply it to like, okay, well, what am I feeding my kids? Like, am I feeding my kids blueberry cookies that come in a package for breakfast? I don't think that's going to have any nutrients. Or am I like trying to get an egg in them, or I'm giving them milled wheat bread or something like that, and that is how they grow. So like our kids' mice maybe, but really just try and add in those things that are going to help them grow properly. How long does it take a human to grease a muffin tin? Like, I don't even know, people. It wasn't recording, but I did this. Okay, I'm gonna put them in the oven at 350. I'm guessing for 12 minutes, but I'll check on them. So those are gonna bake in the oven for a little bit. So if you're wondering, how do I get my kids to eat milled wheat? Well, I'll tell you that we were an entirely organic white flour family. I made absolutely everything from scratch, from like tortillas to fresh bread every second day, cookies all the time, yada, yada, yada. Oh my God, the dinner rolls. And then I went cold turkey on the white flour because personally I felt like it was causing too many inflammatory issues. And since then I've found moderation. But what I did is I cut out the white flour. And then when I got into milled grains, my kids were just so happy to have anything baked that they were just like, yes, I will eat this. Oh my God, Mom, it's so good. And anything that comes out of the oven and you put butter on it and you serve it warm to your kids, they're gonna eat it. Now, we're talking about this being for school. Well, first of all, that's why I add chocolate chips. You could do banana, carrot, any of the above. And I mean, I make them sweet. I'm just not entirely cruel. I know sugar's not the best, but I think it's about adding things in that are good. And I think that milled grains do have some nutritional benefit, at least with those mice. Anyway, the other thing is I will hark back to, you're the parent. Just don't serve the other stuff. Like, we make everything in our house from scratch. I don't have granola bars in the cupboard. I don't have any secret other yummy treats hiding anywhere. So if they want anything baked, this is it. If we have anything made with white flour that's like utterly delicious, then they can have that when we have it. And like I said, it'll usually be dessert. But for the milled grains, my kids will eat it. I would say if they're dried out and old, they're not going to eat it. But if they're fresh from the oven or they're in their lunch tomorrow, they are going to be so pumped. They have not had a muffin in their lunch in at least a month and a half or 2 months. So it's going to be sort of like Christmas for them. Look at that. So I actually like to do it while it's still a little warm. Just pop, I'm using probably a little lead antique knife. I mean, I don't want it to be lead, but, and look at, they just pop out. So perfect. You don't have to cool them on a rack because that is another dish. Repeat it with me. Don't make dishes here, people. I did the dishes while the muffins were cooking, and the muffin tin is looking perfect. So the muffins came out, they look absolutely beautiful. And then they're gonna go in the lunches. So on my channel, if you check out my shorts, I actually have a lot on school lunches, and you can get ideas for different things that I add. You'll see, like, I still use sushi rice. I do a lot of like onigiri and onigirazu and things like that, because it also includes tuna and other things that are nutrient dense. So focus on adding things and not necessarily taking things away yet. That's what I would say in terms of adding nourishment. And if you're really interested in adding more nourishing foods to your diet or your kids' diet, I have a nourishing food guide. I'll link it down below. You can check it out. You're welcome to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my nourishing foods and things that I'm cooking up, and listen to my rants if you're into it. Okay, thanks.